I found out my desk mate was logging into my system after hours and changing my work. When I brought it up, she said, "You're just mad I do it better." So I left a tracker file named template in the folder. It recorded every access time. I sent the log to IT. She's gone now, but she doesn't know I'm also sending a copy to her graduate program with the subject. I'm not a confrontational person. I've always tried to stay out of trouble, especially at work. I get in early, I do my job, I don't gossip or take long lunches. I try to be the kind of employee no one notices too much, the reliable one who just gets things done. So when things started going wrong, I assumed it had to be me. At first, it was small stuff. A report I submitted came back with a note from my boss saying the numbers didn't match up. I thought maybe I made a mistake. It happens. I opened the file and realized it looked off. Not wrong exactly, but different from what I remembered finishing. I chalked it up to being tired. Maybe I saved the wrong version. Maybe I forgot to fix something. I stayed late the next day to double-check all my work. I made sure everything was clean. The next time, it was worse. An entire section of my presentation had been replaced. It was the same topic, but the writing was different. A little showier, like someone had tried to make it sound smarter than it was. I got called out in a team meeting for rewording the executive summary too loosely. That part was hard to hear. I don't usually get criticized like that. I went home that night and just sat on my bed for an hour, trying to remember if I had actually written it the way it looked. Then I started looking at timestamps. I'm not a tech person, but I know how to check version history in our system. The files were being opened at strange times, after 9 p.m., on weekends, always long after I'd left the office. I thought it was IT maintenance at first, or maybe some sort of sync issue, but it didn't stop. And then I started noticing patterns. The files that were changed were only the important ones: quarterly reports, presentation decks, project budgets. The small stuff stayed untouched. That's when I started paying closer attention to Melissa. She sat one desk over from me. We'd started getting along fine at first. She was sharp, very chatty, always good at knowing what to say in meetings. People liked her. I tried to keep a healthy distance because she was the type who always seemed to be working some angle. She liked to casually mention when she stayed late, made sure people knew she was picking up the slack. I never thought much of it until I realized the late-night timestamps lined up with the nights she claimed to be in the office. I didn't want to accuse anyone without proof. But I started locking my computer more carefully, logging out every time I stepped away, even for lunch. Still, the changes kept happening. One night, around 8:30 p.m., I realized I'd left my phone at work. I drove back in. The place was mostly dark. But when I turned the corner into our pod, my monitor was on. Melissa was sitting there, at my desk. She was typing something. Didn't even turn around right away. When she did, she just smiled like nothing was wrong. "Oh hey," she said, "just fixing some of your slides. They looked a little jumbled." That's all she said. Like it was totally normal. Like she had every right to be in my system. I didn't say anything. I just stared at her. She walked right past me and left. The next morning, I asked her not to use my account again. I told her I didn't appreciate it. She gave me this condescending little smile and said, "You're just mad I do it better." I think that was the moment something snapped in me. For weeks, I'd been gaslighting myself, thinking I was the one messing up, that maybe I was slipping, getting forgetful. She let me think that. Let me take the hits. She wanted the credit without the work, and she wanted to make me look incompetent in the process. So I made a fake file. I called it Template XLSX. Something boring. Something that looked like a reference doc for formatting, tucked into the folder with everything else. But it wasn't just a spreadsheet. It was a tracker. A hidden macro recorded the time, username, and IP address any time it was opened, edited, or saved. I left it there and waited. Over the next 6 weeks, she opened it 16 times. Always after hours. Always under her own login. Always from my machine. I didn't confront her again. I just collected the data. I kept it clean. Dates. Times. Matching logins. Every entry matched her late nights. Then I sent it all to IT. I CC'd my manager, 2. No big explanation. Just the logs, the file, the context. They didn't respond right away. But 3 days later, Melissa didn't come in. Her laptop was gone. Her desk was empty. Her name disappeared from the system that same day. No one told us anything. HR just said she was no longer with the company. Most people assumed she got a better offer. That's the version she put online anyway. I thought that would be enough. But 2 weeks ago, I saw her post on LinkedIn. She'd been accepted into a competitive MBA program. Full ride. Big name school. She posted selfies. She wrote about how real ones survive the office snakes and never let jealousy get in the way of growth. She was painting herself as the victim. That's when I started writing the email. Subject: confidential ethics concern regarding incoming student. Inside it, I laid it all out, no emotion, no commentary. Just what she did. The access logs. The unauthorized changes. The manipulation. I attached the same PDF I gave IT. Same proof that got her fired. I saved the draft. And I've been looking at it every morning since. The email stayed in my drafts for 3 days. Then 5. Then over a week. I kept telling myself that getting her fired was enough. That maybe sending it to the grad program was too far. But every time I logged into work, I'd think about all the times I almost got written up because of her. All the stress. All the self-doubt. How I almost started seeing a doctor because I thought I was forgetting things or burning out. Then I got pulled into a meeting with my manager and HR. They said they were doing a quiet internal review of account access policies. That was the official reason. But then my manager leaned in a little and said, "We appreciate how you handled things. Discreet, professional. It helped us avoid legal issues." That's when I realized she didn't just get fired. She signed an NDA. They weren't telling anyone what really happened. Not other teams. Not recruiters. Not the grad school. She could rewrite the story however she wanted. To them, she was just another young professional moving up fast. Polished resume, clean departure, solid references. The company didn't want any liability, so they kept it quiet. But I wasn't done. I checked her LinkedIn again. I shouldn't have, but I did. She'd posted an article she wrote for a niche leadership blog. It was word for word from one of my strategy documents I'd written 6 months ago. Internal use only. I checked the formatting. I checked the examples. It was mine. She hadn't even changed much. Just slapped her name on it and submitted it under the title, Optimizing Project Strategy Under Budget Constraints. That was when the line got crossed again. This wasn't just sabotage anymore. This was theft. She'd stolen my work and was using it as her portfolio. And people were applauding her for it. She got 600 plus likes, multiple comments from MBA professors and current students. One comment said, "Looking forward to seeing your voice in the cohort this fall." That same week, I started getting odd messages from recruiters. One said they heard I had struggled with consistency. Another asked if I was open to development coaching. Those exact phrases? I'd only ever seen them in one place, the anonymous 360-degree peer feedback form we used internally during team reviews. Melissa had filled mine out 2 months before she was fired. And now it was showing up again. I asked one recruiter where they heard that. They just said, "Someone from your previous team, off the record." So she wasn't just gone.
She was still talking about me.
Still reaching out. Still working angles. She was trying to quietly poison me behind the scenes while staying out of sight. That night, I pulled up the email draft again. I added an addendum, screenshots of her blog post, alongside the original strategy document from our shared drive with timestamps and metadata showing I authored it. Then I found something else. On her MBA program's website, there's a page for ethics reporting. They take plagiarism and misconduct very seriously, even before a student formally begins. So I sent it. No hesitation this time. No drama. No message. Just the email. The files. The truth. I expected silence. Instead, I got a call the next day from a block number. I didn't answer. They left a voicemail. It was her. She sounded furious. Quiet, but shaking. "You had no right," she said. You think this helps you? You just ruined everything." Then she hung up. No apology. No denial. Just anger. That's when I knew she knew exactly what she'd done, and that someone had finally drawn a line she couldn't step over. But it wasn't over yet. 3 days later, I got a message from an old colleague I hadn't talked to in months. "Hey, heads up. Melissa's telling people you hacked her files to frame her." I stared at that message for a long time. She was telling people I hacked her? That I framed her? At first, I didn't even believe it. It sounded insane. But then I remembered how good she was at twisting stories, how fast she could flip things when she needed to. She didn't need it to be true. She just needed doubt. So I reached out to the colleague who warned me. Let's call him Aaron. We used to sit 2 rows down from Melissa. He said someone had messaged him on LinkedIn, anonymously, with a link to a post that made vague accusations about a toxic coworker manipulating internal systems to ruin careers. No names, but it hinted at everything. It was posted on some random workplace drama forum. The IP address was hidden through a VPN. The worst part? The screenshots she posted were real, but they were out of context. Snipped to look like I had built the trap just to target her. Not to stop someone sabotaging me, but like I was obsessed. Like I was plotting. She made me look unstable. I realized what she was doing: preemptive damage control. Making sure if her grad school or future employer reached out to me or found out what happened, she could say, "See? He's crazy. He's been after me for months." And then something hit me I hadn't considered before. What if she wasn't the only one accessing my stuff? What if she wasn't acting alone? I pulled up the logs again. Went deeper. I noticed something I hadn't before. Some file accesses didn't match her user ID. They came from a temp account. I had assumed maybe it was hers before she was fully on board, but some of them were after she was fired. I forwarded the access logs to IT again and asked who the second account belonged to. 2 days later, IT responded. This user was linked to a now terminated contractor. Let us know if you need further info. So Melissa had help. Or, at the very least, she gave someone else my login. This wasn't just someone messing around late at night anymore. This was something coordinated. A cover-up. She knew what she was doing could get her fired, and she was laying the groundwork months before. And she thought I wouldn't find it. Then I got an email from the grad school's ethics office. They had opened a formal investigation. They were reviewing the materials provided, and they asked me to confirm the authenticity of the files. They also asked if I was willing to speak to someone in their academic integrity department. They said it would be confidential. I agreed. A week later, I was on a Zoom call with the associate dean. He asked for clarification about the documents she plagiarized, the timestamps, the file trails, and especially the post she submitted online under her name. He said they had compared the writing style to her application essays. There were notable differences. Then he told me something I wasn't prepared for. Apparently, Melissa had included 2 recommendation letters from senior leadership at our company. Except both names were fake. She'd made them up. Used generic job titles that sounded real enough. There was no director of innovation strategy at our office. She'd lied on her application. The dean thanked me for my time. Said they'd follow up. That's when I knew this was no longer just about me. She was climbing fast, using lies. If I hadn't caught her, she might have been sitting in a classroom this fall, using my work to pitch herself as a future CEO. Instead, she was fighting for her future and starting to burn down everything around her to stay ahead. And I was now part of a formal investigation. But she wasn't done. 3 days later, my work account was flagged. I got locked out for suspicious activity. I was in the middle of editing a performance summary for Q3 when everything froze. Then a system pop-up. Access denied. Account locked due to suspicious activity. I thought it was a glitch. I tried logging in again. Nothing. Within 5 minutes, IT called my desk phone. "Hey, we need to talk. Can you come down?" My stomach dropped. When I got there, 2 people from the internal risk team were waiting. I was walked into a side room. No one was accusing me directly, but the air was different now. They asked if I'd recently installed unauthorized monitoring software on company machines. At first, I didn't even connect it. I told them no, I hadn't downloaded anything shady, hadn't touched any systems outside my own. Then they brought up the tracker file, the template XLSX. That file was still sitting in my folder. I'd forgotten to delete it. It never triggered any alerts because it was just a macro and a hidden log sheet, nothing dangerous. But now, someone had flagged it through an anonymous internal report. They asked, "Did you create this to collect data on another employee without consent?" That's when I understood exactly what Melissa had done. She hadn't just left a fake story behind. She left landmines. And someone else, maybe her old contractor friend, maybe someone she manipulated, was still helping her. I sat there, calmly, and explained everything again. From the changes to my work, to the trap, to the proof, to the quiet firing. I showed them the original emails I sent to IT. I pulled up the timestamps and the email thread from the grad school investigation. I didn't raise my voice. I just laid it all out. It took over an hour. They didn't apologize, but they let me go. Quietly. Said they were reviewing everything and to sit tight. For the rest of the day, no one looked me in the eye. I wasn't suspended, but I wasn't working either. I was on what they called a non-disciplinary access pause. Then came the kicker. That night, I got a text from a former team lead, someone who'd always been neutral with me, even friendly. He wrote, "Heads up. There's a rumor going around that you planted spyware and tried to blackmail her." That's the word Melissa had used. Spyware. Not log file. Not access record. Spyware.
And blackmail?
I never once asked her for anything. Never confronted her again after the first time. Never even told anyone outside IT and management what happened. She was rebranding what I did as a creepy, unstable obsession. And people were believing it. She had enough old messages and harmless file edits to spin whatever story she wanted. And with me suddenly locked out of my account, it looked like maybe she was right. She was smart. I'll give her that. She didn't need to beat me with facts. She just needed to make me look dangerous, emotional, unreliable. And now I was one HR whisper away from being labeled a liability. Then came another email from a law office. Not a lawsuit, just a formal notice that my actions may have constituted invasive monitoring of a former employee's personal activity and that any future contact would be considered harassment. It was signed by a lawyer in her new city. She was trying to scare me into backing off, trying to bury the last thing that could still hurt her. But what she didn't know was that the grad school had already asked me to send everything. And they had confirmed that Melissa never disclosed her termination. They were already deep into verification. And they now had a copy of that legal notice, too. Still, the damage was spreading. In 2 weeks, I went from invisible office worker to being whispered about in every hallway. I could feel it, people pulling away, unsure what to believe. Some didn't care. Some looked at me like I was radioactive. One morning, I came in, and my nameplate was gone. Just quietly removed. No explanation. Asked IT, they said it must have been a cleaning mistake. But I knew. She wasn't trying to ruin me at work anymore. She was trying to erase me altogether. I didn't go into the office for 2 days after the nameplate disappeared. I didn't call in sick. I didn't make excuses. I just stayed home, checked my inbox, watched the HR emails pile up. Just checking in. We'd love to schedule a conversation. We want to support a safe and respectful environment. I didn't answer. I waited, because I knew what was coming next. 3 days after I sent the last package to the university, I got an email from their integrity office. The subject line, Final Determination, Academic Conduct Review. They had completed their investigation. The panel found that Melissa had submitted plagiarized work as part of her application, included falsified letters of recommendation, failed to disclose a termination tied to ethics violations, retaliated against a former colleague in a documented pattern of harassment. Her admission was revoked. Effective immediately. She was banned from reapplying for 5 years. They said they had notified her directly. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. That same evening, she called me. I don't know how she got my number. Maybe she had it from months ago. Maybe from the office directory before she left. I didn't pick up, but she left a voicemail again. This one was different. No rage this time. Just silence at first. Then a whisper. You have no idea what you've done. That was all. Not even 10 seconds. I saved the file and forwarded it to the university. Let them see for themselves who they nearly let in. I expected that to be the end. But it wasn't. Because once word got out about her revoked admission, and it did, fast, she started losing control. She deleted all her social media. LinkedIn gone. Twitter locked. Her name started disappearing from every project she'd tagged herself in. A few coworkers messaged me privately. Did she really fake rec letters? I thought she was working for a startup now. She said you stalked her. That's when I made the next move. I wrote a short, professional summary of the entire event.
Just the facts.
No emotion, no blame, just timelines, access logs, HR outcomes, and final ethics decisions. I posted it anonymously on a professional message board for job seekers and MBA applicants. People started piecing it together. A week later, someone from a career counseling service posted a warning about faking recs and stealing documents, tagging her old username. A moderator confirmed the story had been verified through multiple sources. Quietly, but confirmed. And just like that, Melissa went from rising star to red flag. Then came the call from my manager. I figured I was done. Figured they'd want to separate from the whole mess. But no. He apologized. Said the investigation was over. Said they had reviewed the original reports, the retaliation, the legal threats. He said someone from HR had handled it poorly and that missteps were made. They reinstated my access, gave me back full project control, and they moved my desk, permanently, into a private corner office they had been saving for a promotion that hadn't been finalized yet. It came with a raise. Not big, but enough to know I was back. They didn't offer it out of guilt. They offered it because they finally saw what I was worth after they almost let someone else bury it. Melissa, from what I hear, is back in her hometown. No job. No grad school. No way forward in the industry. I kept everything. Every file. Every voicemail. Every access log. I don't need to send them anywhere else. I already did what she feared most. I told the truth, and people believed me. That was all the revenge I ever needed.